Donald Trump has brought the most powerful empire that ever existed to its knees. Not a long-lived empire, but the most powerful, richest empire that ever existed, as far as we know, is the United States of America. And Donald Trump is bringing it to its absolute knees by dismantling it systematically, bit by bit, through Congress, through the Senate, through the federal agencies, through government offices, through every aspect, through breaking down our alliances. You'll have to forgive me. A massive cyst in the back of my knee has ruptured and I am down for the count. These are the perils of a life of athletics and theater stunt work. And some film and television and commercial as well, but mostly theater stunt work broke me. And now I look as America is broken. I lay here with a swollen foot that looks like a blown up latex glove, thinking about the inflated American economy, thinking about the broken system in which I used to live, that I'm still a part of. I still pay taxes. I'm still an American. And I just retch. Because we sat back and we let it happen. Donald Trump has dismantled basic government bodies that exist in order to create protections and filters, protections for the people, filters against corruption, right? He has streamlined everything to go directly to him and those closest to him, his allies, his Musks, pardon me. Why? For his own benefit. He's maligned our allies. He's putting a 25% tax on Mexico and Canada. Canada buys more from us than anybody. Why? To benefit China. It may seem counterproductive, but a lot of these moves are to benefit China and Russia, the new allies and buddies of the United States of America. Now, I've long believed that America should align with China, should align with Russia, but on our terms, not theirs, right? Because they do things a little differently. They don't value humanity the same way. And the United States of America, with all its corruptions and all its bad deeds and all its assassinations and all its overthrowings of governments, is a counterbalance to the dictatorship system. And it does allow us as citizens, even though right now we're getting raw, it has historically allowed us to have certain capitalistic free market freedoms which allow us to grow into a strong middle class in a way that other nations historically have not. Now other nations are doing that. I'm living in one of those nations. But we're tiny. There's 4 million people here in Dubai. I'm not sure how many in the United Arab Emirates as a whole, but it's small. It's not a counterbalance to a global dictatorship autocracy system. The United States was. It no longer is. It started immediately. It was effective immediately. And now we look as our heads of state, our executive branch, are just a bunch of Warren G. Harding level buddies of Donald Trump. Buddies and lackeys. People who will do whatever is requested without thinking of morals, without thinking of right or wrong, only thinking about pleasing their master. I am broken and I am laid out, sitting here wearing a hat. That means I haven't brushed my hair in 2 days.
The American education system is based on a system founded during the Industrial Revolution by Britain and watered down for decades and decades. This is why America produces, hey buddy, some of the stupidest people in the Western industrialized nations. Because we have a system of education. Firstly, it was created to make workers, right? It was not created to breed intellect. It was created to breed subservience, an understanding of basic knowledge on a test level, because we needed people to enter the workforce in an industrial capacity, okay? It never actually adapted or evolved beyond that. as the nation grew into a more advanced society, we did not do much more than simply incorporate some of the advancements into an old structure. It's like if we pulled someone, I'm not going to use an example, it speaks for itself. We have an old system and we try to plug in some new techniques and new information into that old system. But you have to change the system. Now, our legal system is much the same. Our Constitution has amendments, but is much the same. There's a lot of things squeezed into a Constitution and a Bill of Rights designed by men hundreds of years ago with completely different agendas, different lifestyles, and a lot less freedom towards women, a lot less freedom towards other races and other nationalities. Overall, the United States system of operations, from education to law, is flawed, broken, corrupted, and manipulated beyond the everyday citizen's abilities to manage it or advance within it. Therefore, most of the people that are at the very top, the vast majority of those people, come from people who were already at the top. Education doesn't really matter. Who you know matters today. The smartest person in the room, the smartest person in the company, is not necessarily going to be the person that advances, even if they're great at what they do and if they understand how to work the system well. It doesn't matter if you don't have the right connections. My second master's degree, I went to London and did it. Even though I was already working in my industry and had seen and tasted success at a very young age. I went for one reason and one reason alone. Granted, it served me more than just that one reason, but I went for one reason. Connections. I was like, I went to Youngstown State University. I went to the ITI of Cyprus, Intercollege. I don't know anybody. How am I going to get really far in my industry unless I make some connections? I'll always just do well. And for most people, when you do well, you think that's enough, or you think, hey, I'm on track. No, you're not, because you're part of a corrupted system in the United States. Our education is designed to keep us dumb. No kid left behind. I mean, there was an 18-year-old sophomore when I was in school, and that was before the No Kids Left Behind in Ohio. And let me tell you something. He did not like it. He was ashamed. And when the rest of us looked at him, we were like, damn, I don't want to be like Oj. I want to make sure I pass at the very least. I don't want to be like Oj. His name was Joe. He went by Oj. O-J-E. He's a good guy. Scary. We didn't want to be Oj. So we worked a little harder. Now you're like, well, I'll get through no matter what. I'll figure it out later. That's the whole system of education. To make us dumb, to make us consumers, to make us unable to question things properly, to not know geography or advanced history. We don't teach good sciences. You can go to schools and find those things, but it's not the norm. It's like Wasim and I were talking, and he was explaining how good the schools are in his area in Ohio, in Columbus. But I'm like, but bro, you can't look at that as a compass for all of Ohio. Ohio is a D state for education. So yeah, if you make enough money and you do well enough, you can go to some of those schools. But the majority of the state doesn't. California is supposed to be advanced. New York is supposed to be advanced. As a European American, those are some dumb people to talk to. They don't know scheisse about scheisse. About scheisse. And then you get into the legal system. And you realize, oh my God, our legal system is so stupid that we can actually know someone is guilty, but because of a technicality, they can get away with it. Oh, well, they didn't properly gather the evidence. So even though we know that he murdered him, you can't present this evidence to a jury. We know he's guilty. He's 100% guilty. This proves it. But the cops acquired it without a warrant. So you know what? And I'm not saying get rid of warrants. That's a good protective thing. It's just interesting how some of these things exist. Horse and buggy laws. I was trying to look up horse and buggy laws, and I couldn't find horse and buggy laws, like the term, anymore. They've like removed it. Whereas when I was in school, and I'm only 42, when I was in school, they taught us about horse and buggy laws and how that's what white-collar criminals use to get away with crime. Why is it a horse and buggy law? because it's a law which was established before there were cars. Cars were built in the 1800s, late 1800s, we got cars. So horse and buggy laws are pre-1900, not pre-Model T. That was the first assembly line car. Pre-car. Europe was doing cars in the 1890s, 1880s, somewhere around there. We have those laws in place today, and they don't abolish them because they allow the richest Americans to get away with crimes. This is the system in which you live today. That is the base of a nation. It's education and its legal structure. That is the base. And its food supply. I'm not going to talk about food supply because every single time I do that video gets banned, silenced, flagged. Every time I talk about the poisonous food in the United States, that's it for the video. So we'll leave that out of the base, and we'll focus entirely on the reality that laws and education in the U.S. are broken, corrupted, outdated, and designed to you in the... That's my thought for the day as I drive home. And I'm thinking that because I've been going through a lot of the legalities here, and they're so freaking civilized, modern, and just. And they make sense. And I'm like, gosh, and I'm from America, and people think that over here, like, women don't live well, there's that. I'm like, man, I have more rights. I'm more protected. If I screw up, I will be deported. But if I don't screw up, I have more freedoms than you in the United States. Okay, you're like, oh, you can't say anything bad about the ruling party. I got nothing bad to say about the ruling party. First of all, look around you. I got nothing bad to say. And do I really care? Is it really that necessary to talk smack about them? No. I will trade that for all the other freedoms I get. Americans, our country is dismantled right now, but it was allowed to happen by decades of corruption and outdated systems of operations. Switch it up, guys. It's time to change the nation. It's time to change how we work, how we rule, how we govern. It's time. Laters. $5 million, get your citizenship. Now, I may be down for the count with a pretty gnarly little knee injury here, but my mind is sharp. I may be walking crooked, but I'm thinking straight. And it seems to me that if you're saying $5 million can get you citizenship, it's going to attract only specific groups, such as, I don't know, people who want to find ways to launder money, like white-collar criminals, underworld criminals who need citizenship for a variety of reasons, like, I don't know, cartel members who have a ton of money, or people trying to escape their own nations and laws all of a sudden can buy citizenship, come to America. But a hard-working man or woman who's been there, who's raised kids, they can't. They don't have a path. You need $5 million to go directly into the Treasury of the United States, controlled by a corrupt man who is trying to wipe out the Treasury, get as much money aimed at himself, and create the best deals for him and other global dictators. Seems like a bit of a problem, if you ask me. Doesn't seem much like a plan. Seems like a scam. Seems like a big scam. Now, true, Cyprus did this, where they sold passports, I think, for 200 or 250,000 euros. Portugal does this right now. I think Greece does this. I think St. Kitts and Nevis does it. There are countries that do this, but they don't put the limit so high that only specific groups of people can get it. You know, they allow other people to get in as well. Like I said, Cyprus, Greece, Portugal, it's like 200,000 euros. You can't get it from Cyprus anymore because it was a problem, and it brought us a ton of malakis and white-collar criminal, a bunch of oligarchs from Russia, now get to be Cypriots. And in fact, it's interesting looking at the Olympics last year, how many Cypriots were Russians. Interesting. Not that I have a problem, but I'm like, oh, they're not Cypriots. And so, I don't know. What's your opinions? What do you guys think?
I'm going to go relax now because I'm in pain and I don't like pain meds. So I'm just sitting here suffering and thinking straight. Well, it's official. The takedown of America is almost completely finished. Donald Trump is now putting into play the reality that Donald Trump wants more power. He wants to consolidate his power, as I said he would. What comes after consolidation of power? Well, more and more rights will be taken away. By example, your gun rights are going to be gone. They don't want an armed population that can actually rise up. He's dismantling governmental programs. He's dismantling workforce jobs. He's dismantling aspects of the veterans' ability to work within the government. He is threatening blue states, going to wipe them off the map. By the way, for those who don't know, the only red states that do really well and really, truly, deeply matter to the American economy as a whole are Texas and Florida. That's it. All the money, all of the economies, the big economies in America, state-wise, are blue states. California could buy Texas and Florida. It's the 5th largest economy in the world. And he wants to wipe out blue states? What about New York? New York may be red outside of New York City, but New York City and the surrounding area is 20 million people, and it's a blue zone. The 7 million people spread out throughout the rest of the state are mostly red, and they don't make a lot of money. The red suffer. The red states take out, on average, more than they put into the federal government. The blue states, on average, put in more than they take out. What is the solution? Are we going to go to civil war? Are we going to secede the blue states? I don't know. My solution was to come to Dubai, Habibti, to start a new life here, where there's real possibilities, where there's real economy, where there is a burgeoning, beautiful, developing city full of architecture, finance. Hell, you can be a yoga master and come out here and make a living. Everything is coming out here. Because I look back to the United States and I think to myself, what the hell is going on? Elon Musk has completely taken over our government. He has children who couldn't get a job in many other places, working for him because they're loyal to him and they're willing to execute his tasks, handling some of the most sensitive information that has ever existed on the planet, if not that ever existed on the planet, because of our ability to gather data from across all countries. He doesn't care about America. These lies that they're perpetrating, these lies about, oh, this is mishandling of funds, this is corruption. No, it's not. They're not offering any proof. And 99% of the times when they get challenged, they just keep lying and driving the point, because they're mostly talking to a bunch of uneducated or undereducated or poorly educated Americans who are being driven by their emotions. Put your emotions aside. Look at things realistically and practically and logically. I am an emotional, sensitive human. I don't make any executive decisions in an emotional state. I take all information how it is without attaching emotion to the information so I can properly judge it. I do the same thing across the board. And yet, Americans don't. And as a result, we have Elon Musk lying to us, we have Donald Trump lying to us, and we have all their little tentacles out there lying, challenging what Europe put in to the Ukraine, saying that America put in more. Actually, Europe put in more overall money than America. Europe's getting paid back. No, they're trying to work out a deal where frozen assets in Europe are being reallocated to pay for the war that they started. So it's like Russia, you started a war, you caused all this damage, you're not winning, okay? And we're going to continue funding Ukraine. Maybe America won't, but we will. And so at the very least, it's going to be a hard war.
So why don't you just, we'll unfreeze the assets if we get to keep them. How's that for part of the negotiating tool? Donald Trump is like, that's not happening. Blah, 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 blah. He's lying to you. He's lying to you. He's lying to you. He's lying to you. And all you have to do is put in a little bit of effort to see those lies. America, your country is being dismantled and taken away by a man who probably is not well enough to last through the entire term. I don't want to see any harm come to anybody in any way, shape, or form like that, but the reality is he don't look too good, and he doesn't sound too good. And Elon's the one who's doing everything and taking over. At what point are we going to Fred Trump, Donald Trump? At what point? My boss is calling. I love good calls from the boss. Got one guy above me, the CEO, and he is the freaking man. You know why? Because he's the freaking man. So I'll be coming back to America soon to see you all. I hope all is well. I hope the message is heard. It was definitely a rant at the end of a long, long day, which isn't over actually, because there's still daylight. Wishing you all the best, hoping for the best. Please educate yourselves. Please don't listen to lies. Please don't listen to propaganda, and just look at what's in front of you for real. Look at what's happening in front of you right here and now. More good news.
President Trump has begun World War III, and it is not against the world. It is against America itself and America's allies. The moment the man got into the presidency, he began attacking the nation. He did so by attacking the workforce, first and foremost, starting from the base. Every industrialized nation depends on low-wage, legal immigrants to do the hard work. A lot of them are illegal. That's a reality. It's not slave labor. They're making some form of money. Is it fair? I don't know. I'm not the judge. Is it reality? And is it how you get a lot of the things that you want in life with ease and affordability? Yes. We need illegal laborers from Central and South America, whether we admit it or not. And the minute we don't have them, things go haywire. Women's rights have been attacked. Our allies have been attacked. Our military has been used, basically, to show off. Is there a war against some sort of real foe? No. In fact, I almost feel like the tariff war with China is a bit of a joke. They're going to do tariffs, we're going to do tariffs. Ultimately, it's all going to kind of balance out, but the governments are going to make the money in the end. The people are going to get screwed. The treasury is going to get richer. We're the corrupt government that likes to steal money and siphon money and do ridiculous contracts in order for them to make money as individuals. Donald Trump in particular. And Americans are still going to have to pay for things. Americans are going to pay for the tariffs. Chinese people are going to pay for tariffs. And everyone's going to have to buy the items that are under tariff. America's 10%. We put 25 and 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico, two of our largest trading partners, our closest neighbors, allies. The war has begun, and the war is against America and its allies. Are we threatening to cut funds to NATO? Yes. Are we threatening to attack nations that we have alliances with and good business dealings with? Yes. It's systematic. So it always goes a little bit in, but outward in, and then the strangle happens. What's coming next is, little by little, American rights are going to be reduced. You know that thing called the First Amendment? Suspected spam. And it's a 330 number. It's a Youngstown, Ohio number spamming me. Man, that's a damn shame. It's going to be Social Security. It's going to be guns. But let's go back to the first thing I was saying before Youngstown tried to spam me. Police officers are going to have, slowly and bit by bit, new rights. Right now,
You need probable cause to ID and stop someone. You need suspicion of a crime. Reasonable, articulable suspicion, as they keep saying in those First Amendment videos. You need that. That's legit. It's a safety. It stops people from just walking up and arresting you when they want to for needless reasons, no reasons. That's going to go away under a president like Trump. Gun rights are going to go away. Someone's going to try to, him, right? He's probably going to pay them first. Then maybe another one happens. Again, he'll probably pay them and be like, oh my God, my life is in jeopardy. Weapons are a problem. We need to change this. Who's going to stand up to him? Congress? Yeah, come on. Anybody with a spine left or croaked? Yeah, no. No one. It's going to happen. So, World War III is underway. It's against you. It's against me. I left the battle. I'm old. I don't need to fight that battle anymore. But you do. You're stuck there as Americans. What's the response? What are people going to do? Is anyone going to stand up for themselves, or are we just going to whine? If I was still living in America, I'd be doing a lot more, to be honest. But I already did that, and it didn't work. Americans didn't want to join the fight. Everyone's got their microwave and their Netflix and whatever trash they need to buy around their house, and they don't want to disrupt the status quo. Americans are tough, but when it comes to standing up for their rights and their freedoms, that thing that we hold so dear, we're free. Bunch of cowards. I'm just not seeing much action. Gen Z's there. I was recently told by a Gen Zer, Gen Z lacks the stamina, but has all the ability, but lacks the stamina. I think they also get distracted, so it's stamina and a lack of focus. Gen X, what are we doing? Millennials? What are we doing? PORN. It's a 3-day bone broth. Slowly crock-potted. First, I crock-potted for like 8 hours the meat. And I ate all the meat, but then the bone and seasonings and potatoes and vegetables remained behind. Then I ate all the vegetables, but left the bone, added a little more seasoning, kept it going. This is the end of day 3. It is now finishing, and it was magnificent. World War III is underway. It's no joke. Come to Dubai, Habibti, or fight the fight. Exercise your second. I didn't realize I was making a rhyme. That's the natural rapper in me. Fight the fight. Exercise your Second Amendment right. Can take back America. You have all the power to take back America and let it be the democracy, the republic, the free nation that it was always meant to be. You have the power. You have the power to stand on your own and be individual, just like this little group of hares. Go this way, you go this way. Now we go somewhere. It's been a late, long day. But the truth is that Americans, it's one of the things that does make America special is the fact that there's a lot of power in the citizens. Americans do have the ability to take back their country. And it starts on a municipal level. It moves to a state level, and then it goes to a federal level, right? So in the United States, part of what makes us special as Americans is our mayors and our governors actually wield a tremendous amount of power over what they govern. The mayor has a lot of power over his city. Usually, not always, but usually, mayors run cities that have a council that matches their thoughts. Governors often have senates that match their agendas. And so states and cities can execute a lot of their goals. It's why many rich cities in California, for example, they have a homogenous group of people running the city. Santa Monica, Pasadena, Burbank, Beverly Hills. These places are homogenous in their culture and their thinking. And so those cities can be enclaves within the madness that is LA County. And that stretches across the country, right? So how do Americans as citizens have the power to take back their country? Well, there's a variety of ways. And then there's the last ditch effort extreme way, which we haven't had to do yet. Hopefully we don't. Now, you start by forming alliances in your community with other like-minded people. You sign petitions, right? Now, petitions seem like an annoyance, but petitions allow things to get in front of the city council, in front of the state senate, right? So ultimately, you want to do both. You want to go for your city council, you want to go for your state senate. The big goal is the state senate, right? The biggest goal is the federal government, getting through to Congress people, getting through to senators. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of good ones. So you start with the power and the lean of the municipal and the state, right? Because the big senators and the House of Congress, I was going to say the House of Commons, they do what the voters want. So you get like-minded people, you sign petitions, you have a goal, it is clear, you have solutions, not just the problem being identified. You have solutions to your problem, right? You present this before your council, you present this before your state senate with a lucid, strong argument. Use rhetoric, it's always smarter. And you do so with large support. You take people with you. Town meetings, you take people with you, groups of people. You stand up for yourselves, you stand up for your city, you stand up for your beliefs, and you take back what you can, bit by bit or all at once if you can. So that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is organize online boycotts, online protests, not getting there physically and protesting in person and risking getting arrested and allowing martial law to be enacted, but actually online protests. Go online and create large groups. Create trends through numbers. Numbers create trends. So if you get enough people across the nation that have common goals to all do the same thing, to all push the exact same agenda, repeated, 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 keep pushing the same thing until it takes off. Make sure it's heard. Make sure it creates noise. Make sure it's a movement that has so many people following it, they want to put it on the news. Because the news is all about ratings, right? And popularity. Put it on the news. Get some Hollywood douchebag to write a freaking episode of something about it, or a movie, or something. Get together. Create a GoFundMe, if GoFundMes are allowed for creating these things. Maybe it's Indiegogo. Start a platform for creating money for advertisements. The Democrats are freaking weak. They're not trying to combat what's happening in America. They're too focused on saving up their pennies to win the next election, right? So maybe it's on the citizens. We create our own campaigns. We create our own protests and boycotts. Boycotts have begun. It's a start. Now, there's also the protests that involve using your body, physically showing up and protesting. But you have to have a goal. It can't be like what happened with previous democratic movements and far left movements, where people show up, make noise, there's no real agenda, there's no centralized problem being identified, it's like broad and generalized, and there's no solutions. So no one knows what they're actually working for. They're all just joining into a party. You don't want to do that. You want to have organized ones. You want to take over municipal buildings peacefully, quietly. Force your way through. They did that in London in 2009 when I was living there. They organized. They took over UBS and RBS banks. Or maybe it was the Lloyd's Tower. It was RBS for sure and another bank. They got taken over peacefully. They organized on Facebook. I didn't, because at the time my girlfriend was in finance. She worked for Ernst & Young and she was hiding at the apartment and I had to consolidate her. Console her. Not consolidate her. I had to console her. That works. Take over buildings peacefully. And then the last extreme measure is Second Amendment. Do not allow tyranny to win. Fight back. I often do videos identifying problems. I don't often offer solutions because I think that people should come up with solutions, but so many people ask me for my opinion on the solutions. Now, I have several more, but I've already gone 6 minutes and 26, 28, 29 seconds. So that's what I got. That's my opinion. Those are my